Good morning and welcome to the Calving Corner. Up the video playing right now is a video from this cow's home farm. I haven't checked to see if any of the cows here are in that video, but this is where those cows live. Actually, this is an example. They have really great environmental stewardship. They can have a manure separator, and that is used to reused in bedding, and the water is reused. And so these are videos of the actual cows from that farm. If you have questions about what you're seeing or how these cows are taken care of or why we do this, please let me know, or any of us in the blue sweatshirts. We'd be happy to answer those questions. This is a project from Pennsylvania dairy industry to share with you Pennsylvania's dairy cows and give you an opportunity to get your questions answered and learn more about how dairy cows are taken care of on farm to ensure that milk and ice cream and cheese and yogurt, all that good stuff, is healthy, safe, and nutritious.
Hello? It works. Hey everyone, I want to welcome you to the Pennsylvania Farm Show Calving Corner. My name is Dr. Steve. Most people just call me Doc. I'm the veterinarian that's in charge right now for the Calving Corner. Hopefully my job is to do absolutely nothing. That's kind of a nice job to have if you think about it. During a normal calving process, if everything goes the way it's supposed to go, my job should be to do nothing but stand out here and talk to you all. Most calves are born on their own. I get a lot of questions about that. It's kind of funny. 99% of the time, they don't need any help. So we're just here as backup and safety. If something happens, there's a few things we look for. If we see it, we know to intervene. If not, we let Mother Nature take its course. Hopefully everyone saw that there's actually a place where you can get a text message if the water breaks on any of these girls, so you'll know it's really getting close. Because right now, Millie here, the darker faced one, she's it looks like the closest we have. Looking at the signs, but the water has not broke, which means she could go kind of almost into an active labor and then stop. Wait a while, then start back up. It runs just like it does in people. She could walk for hours, or all of a sudden in 5 minutes she could go. And we just don't know. But once we see a water break, that's a good sign that the actual process is going to roll and continue going. So that's what we're really going to look for. What we look for in the meantime, you'll notice she paces around a lot. She's uncomfortable. She's having some contractions and things like that. Typically standing in your food trough is not one of the signs, but she does seem to like to do that. But you'll notice she gets up and down a lot. She moves around a lot. You'll see her kick up straw. Part of that is her kicking at her belly. She feels contractions. The other part's called nesting. She's trying to find an area where she can have her calf, have her baby. So we see those signs. Other things we do, if you look on the back end of her, she holds her tail out a little bit. If you look at the pen across, they're not due till tomorrow. Their tails are nice and flat, and the vulvas are not swollen or anything. If you look at Millie, you see her tail's out, and you'll notice her kick it side to side and things like that. You'll notice it's a little swollen back there. That's a good indication that she's close. But again, close means today, not 10 minutes. Yeah. See, that's the whole problem with this. There's no set time frames until things get going. So until we see some active pushing and we want to see that water bag there get there, and when that water breaks, that's when we know things are rolling. And that's when we start to intervene too if we need to. As long as things keep progressing, you really don't want to mess with them. Because it turns out, you stir them up a little too much, Mother Nature has a way of shutting down the whole calving process for a little while. Think about it though, it makes sense. If you're in the wild and all of a sudden a wolf shows up, you need to get out of there. So they can actually stop the whole parturition process, leave the area, and start it back up. So we don't mess with them too much, because we don't want to trigger anything like that. But hopefully things will keep going for her. She's got her friend here that's looking this way. But right now, Millie's just chewing her cud and enjoying things, so things have settled for the moment. So who knows what's going to happen. Any guys, any of y'all have questions at any point here? Feel free to ask questions. You kind of have your free Stump the Vet time now if you want to fire questions away or whatever. If there's anything you want to know about the cows and stuff. I will tell you up front, I'm a large animal vet, so if you ask me about your dog or your cat, unless you're milking them, may not be able to help you too much. Sure, got a question? No. Is it more common, though, in them than more mature? Yes, but it's still not real common. If you're having a lot of stillborns, really? Yeah. Okay, she has a real interesting situation where she had a couple born, stillborn. Now the problem is one of the stillborns was a breech. Does everyone know what a breech is? Breech is a backwards baby. So the problem you have now is, did you really have a stillborn problem, or did you happen to have a stillborn and a breech? So you don't know. So you're actually in a bad situation because you really don't know if you really are having a problem or not yet. That's the kicker there. And we can kind of talk a little later. There's other things that go into what we call a stillborn. There's nutritional issues. There's genetic issues. There's a whole bunch of things that can go into it. But if one was a breech, it may have just been bad run. So hopefully we won't see any breaches here. I'm trying to think, last year we had a couple. I had to pull a calf here last year, but it wasn't breech. It had a leg back though, but it wasn't breech. So, yep. Yep.
I just called the vet. Should I pull? He goes, yeah. Yeah, the head was out. It was just, she was stuck. I wasn't there because I pulled calves at work before. My boss had mixed Series B, and we had to pull a bunch of them.
Yep. So does anyone know what kind of cows we have out here? What? Yeah, these are jerseys. So these aren't your black and whites. These are your jerseys. These are nice little girls. They're smaller than the Holsteins. They actually have very good, what they call feed conversions, though. They actually make a good amount of milk for the amount of feed they take in. They're a very good animal to have on a dairy. And I guess I heard some talk earlier, they also have a high butter fat, so they give a very rich milk, a very good milk. High butter fat, high protein. And I know we've had a run of babies. I think these girls are expecting heifers. And a heifer is a baby female. And again, to clarify terms, by the way, nobody say a bull is a boy cow. It does not work, okay? All cows are female. Cow, by definition, is a female bovine. So a bull is a male bovine. So you don't say a bull is a boy cow. We will hear that a lot. So, any questions over here for the vet? Come on, you can do your trivia now. How many stomachs does a cow have? 6? Yeah. Yep, cows have 4 stomachs. And actually, Millie over here, oh no, she stopped. The other one now is good, so that'll go down into the first stomach. What's the first stomach called? No, it's not called It's Been a While. It's called the rumen. The rumen's the first stomach. And then you have the reticulum. You know what's next? The omasum. And then the abomasum. Good. Yep. Yep, those are the stomachs of the cow. Now the abomasum, the 4th stomach, that's the acid stomach. That's the one that's like our stomach. The first 3 do not have acid in them. They're more mixing vats, fermentation vats, and things like that is their job. Pulling out water, that kind of thing. Millie just had a good contraction right there.
Yeah, what number calf you on?
I'm not sure. I think number 2.
It seems like she wants to lay down.
Yeah.
Getting restless.
Yeah, she's definitely getting restless. She's pacing around. The vulva's relaxed nicely. She's had some good discharge. So she's getting close.
You can tell she's keeping her tail up.
Yeah. 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 She's definitely our close girl for right now.
How do they handle the stress down here?
Pretty good, actually. The Holsteins don't seem to care as much.
Really?
I think the Jerseys notice a little more. If everybody watches Millie right now, this is what's called nesting. You see she's checking the bedding, she's moving it around, kicking at her belly a little bit, she's restless. And she's trying to find a good spot. This is what we call the nesting phase. So as we watch Millie walking around being uncomfortable and stuff, anyone know how long the gestation is for a cow? How long she carries the baby in her belly? Do you know? What's the gestation of the cow? You should know it. Are you? I'll make it easy for everyone. It's the same as people. 9 months. Yep. So they have the same length of the gestation as people do. So they carry for 9 months before they have their babies. Yep. These two will be today. The ones in this pen over here are due tomorrow. And this one, with her back to us, she's starting the early phases now. Now it'll be a while. She's doing nesting behavior, walking around, place lay. She's kicking in her belly, she's having contractions. And then if you look under her tail, her vulva is swelling and loosening, and she's having discharge. So she's on the way, but she's still in the phase where we're kind of walking down the hallway trying to. But she keeps stopping moving.
Not even 3 months.
But
So like
in Jersey, she could all of a sudden turn around in the next half hour. They're funny animals.
Good morning and welcome to the Calving Corner. My name is Miriam. I'm the project manager. What we have here are 5 Jersey cows for Mount Rock jerseys. We're getting into the kind of pre-labor stages on a couple of them. I think if what we call the darker one, her tag says 5773. Her name's Millie. These are registered jerseys. So they have a registration paper, and we think we're getting closer with Millie, but she's got to just kind of get to the point where she's going to lay down and do some get to business. The neat thing about jerseys is they're really friendly, they're really docile, but they're also really curious. So jerseys, they're very aware of us. These girls are also very aware of themselves. We had the camera set up, the video set up like this morning. And when I came in a little before 8, they were looking at themselves and getting a kick out of it. So it was kind of funny. So maybe we're going to get down to business. If the first thing we'll see is the water just broke. So at this point, I need everyone who's up near the gates to take a giant step back and be behind the red line and find a seat in the bleachers. And we need to be quiet. So jerseys are known to have quick labors. And the camera's cooperating. So we have a veterinarian here, Dr. Stephen Folk. He'll walk us through the process and what to expect. But again, we kind of just need to be calm and quiet, and that will help the process for Millie.
Okay, I don't know if everyone saw that, but when she laid down, did everyone see what happened? The water broke. So that's a good sign. So now we're actually in labor, stage 1 here. So we're not nesting, we're not in the prelims, it's actually started. Now it can still take a while, but I'll kind of walk you through what's going to happen now. So now the water's broke, so now that calf can start moving back into the pelvic canal, and we can start the birthing process. Does anyone know which end comes first? Yeah, well, okay, feet. Okay, not the head, but which feet? Is they come out and they dive. They kind of come curling out down. And the reason they do that is, think about it, they're coming through that pelvis. So they got to kind of come through and then drop out of the pelvis to be born. So that's what we're going to see happening. We'll slowly see feet, and then we'll see more feet, and then we're going to see a nose, then the head. And then once that head comes, it really tends to go fast at that point. And I said they tend to dive out after that point. Now, how long till we get to that point? Don't know. But my rule of thumb is every 20 minutes we should start seeing progress. As long as we keep seeing progress, we don't do anything. We don't intervene too much. If we don't see progress, we don't start seeing feet, we only see 1 foot, the head we don't see, then we're going to intervene. Or if we see what you would describe as upside down feet, we may intervene sooner. Because if they're upside down feet, most of the time it's not that the calf is upside down, it's actually that it's the back feet. And we have a breech. And a breech is one time we will intervene. Because with a breech, we need to get the calf out fast. What happens is, you think about it, when you come backwards, you're going to have the belly of the calf come into the pelvis, and what's going to happen is the umbilical cord is going to get pinched off. And now your umbilical cord is pinched off, and that, remember, that's his lifeline. but his head is still inside the uterus. So it can't breathe. So we have to deliver them fairly fast. And that's why breeches are emergencies with them. Because when they're coming forward, by the time the belly gets pinched off, their head and chest are already outside. Calf can breathe. So pinching that cord on the pelvis is a stimulus to start breathing. So if you come head first, you're fine, because your head's outside in the world. But if it's backwards, check. But hopefully we won't even be dealing with that. But that's probably one of the more common ones we know we have to step in on quicker. But luckily, breeches are not real common. But we do see them here and there. Probably more common is we will see things where sometimes a leg is back, so they'll try and come out like this. Sometimes the cows can actually have them like that. Other times we have to go in, just pull the leg up, out they come. But again, I want to clarify, 99% of the time, we don't intervene. We just watch. And moms can take care of this themselves. I know you can't see from over on those stands, but we have a nice bag that is progressing. We are seeing progression. I'm either being waved at or someone has a question. Oh, so you're asking when we do see a breech, what do we do? Most of the time, if we have two back feet, we can actually just pull them just like that. We'll bring them out backwards. Because like I say, what will happen is, as we bring that calf back in a breech, if it's backwards, once we pinch that cord off, we have about 5 to 6 minutes before it has to be born, before we'll have problems. So basically we know we'll work them back, and I'll get them basically everything in position. Because I know when I hit a certain point, the clock starts, so I'll take the calf all the way back till I know I'm there, and then I go. This is what you do. We don't try to turn them around inside. They're too big, not enough room. And most of them, if the calf lines up, it's actually fairly easy on mom to come backwards, believe it or not. So we can get a drink, things like that if she wants to. It happens a lot. It kind of frustrates you when you're the one watching. But that's the birthing process. They can kind of stop and go, like I said, but it's going to still, over time, forward. That's what we watch. Like I said, we've got a nice water bag there. Oh, they got it up on the screen. Good, you guys can see it. And of course, now the other cow gets in the way of the picture. So. Okay, normally from the water breaking within 2 hours, okay, it sounds a long time. Like I said, a lot of times less than that, but up to 2 hours is easily okay, as long as we have progression. You know, experienced moms, like, you know, if they're second calf, or if they've had a calf or two before, tends to be a little faster. First timers, all bets are off. You know, it's they'll play a lot more games with you. But luckily, these aren't first-time moms, so. And they should have heifers in them, so we should have little girls in them. And that makes it easier because baby heifers, girl calves, tend to be smaller, so easy to have. Okay, so she asked, how do I know it's probably a heifer in there? They cheated when they bred her. They used what's called sexed semen. You can actually buy semen that will select for gender, which makes a lot of sense. If you have dairies, you want females. If you have beef animals, you want boys. And so you can actually select for certain animals. Yep. I keep looking back because of you guys. In a normal situation, I would have taken a mental snapshot and walked away for 15 minutes because I want to be able to come back and compare to what I saw 15 minutes ago. If I keep checking her every 5 minutes, you'll actually miss progression sometimes because it's smaller. So I just want to see little increments per. As long as I've got progress, I'm happy. If that progress stops, so a lot of times I'll intervene way before that mark if there's problems. Depends on what I do. If I'm going to intervene, my intervention is I put on the good old sleeve and I feel for what's going on. Because I may wind up giving her oxytocin, just like they do in people, or Pitocin, they call it in humans. Same thing. It's the exact same thing, believe it or not. The reason I'm going to reach in and check first, though, is that that calf is in a position that it can't come out. I don't want to give her oxytocin until I have it lined up. Because if not, I'm going to cause her to contract, and that thing can't move, and she's going to be in a lot of pain. So I want to make sure everything is the way we want it first. So yeah, first stop is a reach in, and then after that, depending what we have, the most common things we do are oxytocin, and I do a lot of epidurals. So that's pretty common to do. I like to pick on some of my human friends because they talk about how hard epidurals are. I hate to tell him, because he's like, man, I can't do them all the time. They're really easy in cows. So that's kind of a dirty secret for us large animal vets. It's a really easy trick in cattle. So we can do it. Hey, and guess what? She goes, I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. I've been tired. So yeah. So what we'll do is like one of those chutes over there and put a bunch of food and water in front of them. And she'll actually ignore me while I'm doing the surgery. So it's really interesting that way, that it's very different than the way you think of with people. Here. Okay, how common is it for a vet to be on site when there's a birth? Okay, it's going to depend a little bit. To be honest, I am probably present for less than 1% of all births. I mean, we're actually there for a very small percent. Because a lot of times, like I said, the vast majority of births happen on their own. Then you get a whole other group of ones that need to be assisted, but they're minor things. A leg happened to be, instead of one leg forward, the other leg is kind of like this. So they just have to bring the leg forward. Mom has it. The farmers will take care of most of those. It's when we tell our clients, we have little protocols we'll set up on every farm. We'll say, again, the 20-minute rule. You know, you watch for progressions. If they don't progress 20 minutes, you reach in. You see if there's anything you can fix. If you can't fix, define, or correct the problem in less than 20 minutes, you call us, and then we come out. So you kind of have steps. So a lot of them will be helped, but it's minor little things, just, you know, a little foot got sideways or something, you just pop it forward and they come flying out or something. If they find backwards ones, sideways, weird things, they just know to call us right away. So we're actually there for a very small percentage. So I do a fair number of calvings, that's because there's a lot of farms, but per farm, I actually do a very small percentage of them. Now, the reason I said it depends a little bit is on some of the really big dairies now, though, they actually have an on-staff vet. So they're the ones that actually do the monitoring and evaluating. So you'll see that happen, especially out Idaho, California, with some of the real big dairies. So, but again, they probably don't assist in very many of them. Yeah. No, this is not Millie's first baby. So, which is good, so it should be a little easier. And again, I don't know if you heard me say earlier, or if they said earlier, it should be a heifer. So a heifer is a what? It's a little girl. Now, so she should be having a little girl for us. So, and there's two ways we can kind of know what sex the baby's going to be. This one is because they used sexed semen. They bred her, they used semen that actually skews the odds 90% towards female. So yes, could have a boy, but only a 1 in 10 chance. The other way is we can, between days 60 and 90 of gestation, of pregnancy, day 60 to 90 pregnancy, we can actually, with ultrasound, go in and sex the babies too. And some of the farms have us do that. So sometimes we'll ultrasound sex them. That way the owners know what's coming. She's just uncomfortable. Yeah. She was asking about whether the one cow was being bothered by the other. No, she's getting up. She's uncomfortable. Remember, things are contracting, moving. You know, that calf is shifting in there, so she gets uncomfortable, so she'll get up and shift. Helps things move around. It helps things get expelled. So we expect to see it. But what I'd really like to see next is some feet start to pop out. But again, she has been progressing. Doesn't look like much, but you notice the bag's been getting bigger. Things are moving, so we do know we have progression, and that's the key. So we know so far things look good. If we do have calving issues with this, anybody know what the term is for having birthing difficulty, what the proper term is? You do? What's the term? Dystocia. Wow, I'm impressed. She's right. Yep. Dystocia is the term if there is a difficulty, or if you're in the cow world, instead of dystocia, we just call it an utter disaster. Ba-dum-tsh. See how many people are listening out there. Come on, I can milk these. So again, we are seeing progress, so that's good. She did get up. Like I said, they'll get up, they'll lay down, they'll walk around, they'll be uncomfortable. You know, right now, as I said, she's still pregnant. Does anyone know what we call a cow right after she gives birth, though? Decaffeinated. Ba-dum-tsh. Oh, come on, people. Work with me here. Has anybody ever seen out in the fields the cows that wear the bells around the neck? You know why cows wear bells? Because their horns don't work. Did you know that one? Oh. What's that? Okay. Once you see the bubble, usually within the next 2 hours, usually shorter, but it's going to be within that window. Now, we keep seeing progress. So, on a more serious note, though, right now, this is still what we call stage 1 of labor. There's 3 stages to labor. This is stage 1. When she starts actively pushing, and you see the feet, that'll be stage 2. And so stage 2 is what actually kicks the calf out. And then stage 3 is when what we call the cleans. Has anyone ever heard that phrase, when a cow cleans? And what that is that's when she releases the placenta. Because remember, the placenta's got to come out too. Now, there's one thing that's a little different about cows than people. They do have 9-month gestation. And actually, the birthing process is extremely similar, except for the part. With the cows, it is not uncommon for them to actually wait several hours before the placenta comes out. That can be normal. Where on the humans, the placenta generally needs to come out right after the baby. And the same actually goes true with horses. When you see them give birth, the placenta will follow very shortly after. Cows are a little unique. They can actually go up to 8 hours, 10 hours without any problems and then expel the placenta. We don't have any issues with that. That's not a problem with them. So we may see it a little different that way.
So if you're joining us, we do have a cow in active labor. But again, this is Mother's Nature involvement. And we mimic the surroundings that they have at home very closely. They have a maternity pen at home that's freshly bedded, that people can monitor. However, all of us is a new added dimension. Jerseys are cool. They're really docile. They're really curious, but that curiosity sometimes gets them in trouble, and it also means that occasionally they're easily distracted. So she's just trying to find a comfortable position here, I think.
As you can see, she just cannot get comfortable at this point. So, as I said, she's coming into the active labor, which is, she can't get comfortable messing around. She's looking for a place to lay down, but doesn't feel like laying down. And I guess she's being a little shy about the whole thing, just trying to hide it from everybody. So after she gives birth, she's going to have kind of a unique type of milk she gives the first day. Does anyone know what that milk is called? Colostrum. Great. Hey, that's great. You guys know that one. Yep. One of the things that's kind of unique in the bovine world is the babies do not get any immunity from mom through the placenta. So they're born with a very naive immune system and no immunity. So mom is going to make colostrum, which is her first milk. And that first milk is going to be loaded with antibodies and immune cells that the calf will absorb. So it's going to get its primary early immune system through that first milk of mom's called colostrum. So one of the things that's going to be very important after the baby is born is that within the first 6 hours of life, that baby get a really good big meal of that colostrum, because that's going to define its immune system for the rest of its life. And there's some other cool stuff that goes on with colostrum that actually we're just starting to learn about that people really didn't even know about. The first milk does a couple other neat things. One, what else is a baby going to need right off the bat in the world? It's going to need energy. It's going to need energy to try and stand. It's going to need energy to get its body temperature up. It's going to need energy to survive. So that colostrum is going to be super, super rich in calories and sugars. And not only is it going to have tons of sugars and calories in it, it turns out colostrum even is going to have a couple extra little things in it like insulin in it. Kind of a neat trick if you think about it, because what does insulin do? It drives sugar uptake. So you're actually going to put in a whole bunch of sugars and nutrients and something to drive it into their system. So it's really cool what colostrum does. And colostrum has the same thing for proteins. Here's a little trivia for you. What is the #1 legal, and I stress the word legal supplement used by Olympic athletes around the world? Not steroids. No, the #1 legal supplement. The #1 legal supplement, yeah. Chocolate milk actually is very, very common, especially for post-workout recovery. No, the #1 legal supplement used by Olympic athletes is colostrum. It's loaded with calories, loaded with proteins, but there's also a couple other little hidden goodies in colostrum that gets the calf off to a good start in growing, like insulin-like growth factor and anabolic growth factor. Basically, there's anabolics, just like anabolic steroids in colostrum. They're designed to help the calf get growing right off the bat. But it turns out they work for people too. So actually athletes will drink colostrum because it acts like an anabolic steroid, because it promotes growth. So they will actually use it. There's a huge market for it. But if you think about it, it's critical to help get the calf growing. Because what do they actually do? It helps drive the uptake of nutrients and the utilization. And that's what we got to get these poor little things doing. Yeah, that. There's several theories behind. Do not know where a baby was born, which means there's a baby that's easy pickings. Also, when you're living in the wild, not to be gross, but waste not, want not. There is a lot of proteins and nutrients in that tissue. Do you let it go to waste? Or do you pick it up and recycle it? And thirdly, there are a few compounds in it that may act kind of like oxytocin and like endorphins that help with the whole post-uterine involution issue. And actually on the human side, it's become kind of trendy again for women to eat their placentas because they think some of these factors go in. You can eat it raw, you can fry it, or there's actually a company that will make it into capsules for you. So it's kind of an interesting thing that we do see. There's a lot of reasons why. My guess is there's a little truth to all of them, though. You want to hide the evidence. You don't want to waste nutrients. And there probably is some effect on the uterus helping it involute. You know, rarely is there kind of a single reason for anything. So when they do these things. we have any other questions about the calving going on? Or cows in general? These are Jersey cows. One thing that's kind of funny about Jerseys, I don't know if you noticed, but they tend to be looking around a lot and looking at you all and checking things out. They tend to be a very nosy breed, and they can actually be a little bit of escape artists. They like to play with latches and gates and stuff like that. They will play with things and do things like that. One of the funny things we saw this morning when we came in early and we're setting up, they turned on those screens up there, and the Jerseys actually like to watch themselves up on the screen for a while this morning. It was really kind of funny. They'd sit there and they'd stare up there and then see the cows up there looking back at them, and it was kind of cool. But unfortunately, being very curious makes them easily distracted too, so. As you can see, she kind of keeps checking around, moving around, playing with stuff. So on average, how old is a heifer going to be when she has her first calf? Anyone know? You don't count. Cow person hiding in the crowd up here. Does anyone know how old they are when they had their first baby? Close. Usually about 2 years old. That's when they'll have their first baby. You got to remember, their lifespans and their life cycle is very much contracted compared to ours. You know, the baby within within an hour is going to be standing and walking around. Human babies are not up and walking around in the first hour. So the 2-year-old that's having a calf is much more like someone 18 years old having a baby for us. So it kind of matches more of that age frame. But unfortunately, it looks like she's kind of just hanging out now, putting things on hold for us. front of you.
Good morning. My name is Miriam. I'm the project manager. The other person on the microphone is Dr. Stephen Folk. He's a veterinarian here and able to answer any questions you have and will assist if we need. We have one cow in active labor, Millie. She's the darker one in the pen of two. Her water's broken, but she's not quite down to business or pushing. So we're going to continue to monitor that. She's got to get comfortable. If you're up near the gates and the pens, please make sure you're behind the red line. If there are bleachers behind you, please either find a seat or sit on the floor so that we can give the cows a little more space.
Hopefully y'all can see some hooves starting to poke out back there. The other thing I wanted to point out too that someone showed me, which is really great shot here. If you look at these two cows, when we say we can kind of see them early coming into labor, what we look for, look at the difference by the tail heads, how swollen and pushed out the girl that's actually real close to labor is compared to the one next to her. And then look at even the pen across from them. The big variation in how that looks. The closer they get, that area will start to lengthen, relax, and swell. As we know, they get closer and closer. So that's good that we're seeing feet come in, because what's going to happen now, as the calf comes into that pelvis, we're going to start a feedback loop. The pelvis is going to send a message, hey, there's something in here. And the brain is going to say, hey, time to push. And then as she pushes, more calf goes into the pelvis. Sends another signal back, hey, there's something bigger in here. So what does the brain say? Here's some oxytocin, push some more. And it keeps the feedback loop going until the process is over. So that's good that we're seeing hooves, because as you start to see feet, the more you see come out, the more it speeds up the whole procession. So again, what we want to look for, we want to see 2 front feet coming out, and then hopefully a nose to follow. Again, the calf to kind of dive out of the cow is the best position we want to look for. And it makes a lot of sense. If you shoot both front legs forward, it'll drop the shoulders in, making it smaller, and then you tuck the head down in. And so it makes it the smallest presentation to come through that canal.
As she continues to progress, let's just kind of keep our voices down. It is exciting. So she's getting some great pushes here right now. She looks more like I do.